Affairs. It's my pleasure and great privilege to be before you this afternoon for the confirmation of the post of an ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Before you, I presume you have my curriculum vitae, so I will just give the brief version. Born on the 2nd of December 1961 in Kaduna, I went into primary school in Zaria, secondary school, Nigerian Military School, Zaria, 73 to 78. Thereafter, I went into Nigerian Defense Academy in 1979. Commissioned on the 18th of December 1981 into the Nigerian Army Signals. Thereafter, I went to University of Ife. I graduated in Ife in 84 with BSc Electronics Electrical Engineering and also with Diploma in Telecommunication Engineering. I've served in various offices in the Army and outside. But precisely the last two offices I served was the Commander Training and Doctrine in Mina and also as the immediate past Chief of Defense Staff. All that I have done. And in the course of my career, as the CDS, I traveled and interacted with quite a lot of the CDS outside, where I engaged in strategic diplomacy. Among such were the things, particularly two things I want to really bring to the attention of this distinguished audience, was when we came on board in 2015, we had issues in the issues we were grappling with. I had to interface with the CDS of Niger, Cameroon, and Chad. Having interfaced with them, I had to go to France to also interface with the CDS so that it can bring its also knowledge to bear on our engagement, which I did. That was one of the areas I played the strategic diplomacy. Second one was also when in AU, where the Chief of Defense Staffs met. And we've been having a long-drawn battle with South African Chief of Defense Staff as regards African Standby Force and an ASRIC. I went in and I met with him before the meeting, and I interfaced with him, and I told him there's a need for us to have a common front, which he agreed on. And in the meeting, we were able to present a common front. Over 4 years that we've been having issue in that kind of in that situation. These were all the areas I employed the military diplomacy to achieve the desired objectives. Distinguished senators, briefly, that's all I have done in the last 48 years I have worn the uniform. Thank you. The military usually is subject itself to civil authority, irrespective of who is in that seat as a civilian. The military subjects itself to it. Subject itself to the civilian authority. So whoever is coming into wherever I'm posted to is coming in for the betterment of the nation Nigeria. And it is my responsibility to give that attention and that support and the cooperation for such a team or the person to achieve its desired objectives. Talking about my 66 months as the Chief of Defense Staff, wherever I'm posted to, yes, I have acquired quite a lot of knowledge about the military diplomacy in all these areas. In the last 66 months, I've interacted with not less than 70 Chief of Defense Staff worldwide, which, of course, we have also shared our talk to ourselves and share our own views as to what and what to do. I believe that wherever I am posted to, I will use these experiences and probably even the connections I have developed over the years to ensure that whatever challenges that we've been facing can be easily addressed. When I spoke of going to those African countries and then to France, there was something that I realized there. When I met with the CDS of these three countries who are borders in Lake Chad, I realized that there are 3 stars, and that the one in France was a 4-star. So I met him and requested for him to speak to the Chief of Defense Staff of these countries so that they can work with me as to the multinational joint task force, which he promised me, and he did, because 6 months thereafter we met in Britain, and he asked me, how was it? And I said, they are now working with me. That was what I achieved at that level. My appointment, of course, or my nomination, I wasn't aware. Only shortly, of course, before I was disengaged, a day before, the president, of course, told me about the disengagement. But about the appointment of ambassador, I wasn't aware. I presume it's the instance of Mr. President to know that. By posting to wherever, the posting, of course, wherever I'm posted to, I will exactly do the needful, knowing fully well that as an ambassador, I'm to represent this country, and also that I'm also to represent the interest of the country. And whatever the interest of the country is my responsibility, and I will do exactly that, distinguished.
Thank you, Mr.
I think they are basically in 2 ways. One, you're looking at what are the issues that we need to look at to address the insecurity that we are facing. I must say the solution is multi-pronged, because we talk about conventional warfare, we talk about asymmetric warfare, we are talking about hybrid warfare, where everyone is involved. It is not about kinetics. Kinetics gives only 35% successes of any war we are fighting. It is a national approach that must be properly galvanized for us to actually mount the insecurity. I will say, 3 years ago, I conducted a research on the forest in the country. I realized we have over 1,000 forest reserves. I sent the team to Kenya. They went to Kenya and brought out a paper, and I said then 3 years ago that our next crisis will be in the forest. Some governors were invited. We told them, because most of the forests are the prerogative of states. The states took over all the forest reserve. And I said too, we had to protect the forest. We had to send things to the forest to protect the forest. This 3 years ago, 2018, we did a research, and for 6 months, we did it that apart from what we're facing in the northeast, the next problem we're going to have is the forest. But again, usually until it's with us right now. So it is a multifaceted approach. Everyone has to come on board for us to be able to address the security. Talking about whatever, you can never have enough, either weapons, either personnel, but then there are issues that we need to address, and that it has to be all about the nation. So I think that's the position. But then, like all my observations, what I've seen as setbacks or issues that I need to address, as I exit in the military, I'll continue to address them. I'm not done with it. They have other issues that I will continue to address, convey to the appropriate quarters to look at and see. Because, of course, with my experience in 6 months as the CDS, I went through it all. We developed a lot of capacities. We developed a lot of initiatives. All operations, we looked at all the operations and begin to step up again well ahead to address all these issues. But like I said, it is not just about kinetics. It's about a national approach to addressing this issue. And I think this is what we need to do. Looking at, yes, like Senator Ndume said, I believe, yes, appointment, likely in the wisdom of Mr. President, had brought us on board as ambassadors. We, like I explained in my opening remark, talked about how I employ military diplomacy to be able to bring some people or some CDS and some their armies into our operation. I believe that these are things we could do because we are, of course, over the years, all of us have gone through courses that have to do with diplomacy, and we are skillful enough to be able to reach out to all these nations and see how they can buy into our own requirement such that we can confront the crisis we are facing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wouldn't be in the past, generals have been appointed as ambassadors. In short, a well-known diplomat was Joe Garba, was also who served his nation meritoriously. And in the last ambassadors, they were also generals. Olaniyi was also a general and all that. So I believe that being a general will not in any way take the effort or the performance of one's duty in any location you are posted to. In the U.S., I've worked with almost 4 of their chief of defense staff, and we'll interacted well and very closely. So that will not in any way affect the performance there. I wouldn't, the statistics the distinguished senator had rolled out, I wouldn't in any way want to, of course, in any way doubt it. But I know, yes, there are illegal movement of arms, which we all know. One of the issues is the way the crisis in Libya that made all these arms to really come downwards, southwest. And of course, as it's coming southwest, it ends in the coast in our own region. And these are all the things that have happened. So we will, of course, if we're made as ambassadors, we'll be able to ensure that the known parts of this movement of these arms will interface with the, of course, the country will be serving in to ensure that necessary measures are taken to mitigate the movement of these things downwards. Talking about insecurity, and that, of course, so much developed in the last 66 months. The challenges we're facing are novel, in the sense that after the Civil War, this is the first time as a nation will be going into complete conflict. But then there are issues that, of course, were not there, and you cannot build this overnight. Personnel, ammunition, weapons. This takes time. And of course, it takes time and even the capacity to be able to. But I will tell you in all honesty and seriously that the much we did are things that have addressed the issues that we're confronting. A lot of the things are coming in, a lot of capacity have been developed, and we will be able to improve on it. We will not say there is any failure. Of course, one thing we understand is that as the challenges were coming, we're developing the capacity which we hitherto not had. And this capacity needed to be put in place to address these challenges. And as is where it's a global issue, and we also need to interface globally to be able to address some of these things. All this have been done, and I believe that our successors, who of course we have laid the foundation for them, will be able to do much more than we have done as we are.
Thank you.
Yes, I said I was pulled out. Of course, as a general, it's usual that you are pulled out of the service. You are not, after all, you are part and parcel of the system. So we continue to see ourselves as that. The experiences we have acquired in the last, like I said, I wore the uniform for 48 years, from a boy soldier to a general. So those 48 years, I've seen the thick and thin of it all. So I believe that those experiences will come to bear in wherever post, wherever country I'm posted to. Your question. Just like you rightly said, the military is for external conflict. But one of our constitutional roles also is in aid of civil authority. And as such, we are in almost 33 states of the country and in support of the police. However, we didn't leave them out. We have always worked with them to ensure that at least we'll address all the challenges that were. And of course, as a diplomat, negotiation is one of the key function of a diplomat. And that's why I believe that wherever I'm posted to, I will ensure that whatever we have to do to interface with the host nation, such that whatever experiences, if they are, or whatever assistance they could give to Nigeria, will actually pursue it such that we get such assistance. Assistances could be in different forms. It could be in training, it could be in capacity building, it could be in equipment sourcing, it could even be in all the aspects of morale. So these are things, or even we learn from their own way of doing things. I remember as Chief of Defense Staff, I had to send a team to Pakistan because they are in the forefront of this issue. A team, I sent them to learn how to interface with the press. And that was when, after I sent the team, they came back, we developed what we call defense media operation. We saw that we had to carry out a media operation in the encountering the insurgency. So we learned from the Pakistani, and they told us how to do it, and we came back to those things. So wherever I'm posted to, I definitely will ensure that we get their support to address our internal issues in Nigeria.